Here in Syracuse, New York, it's 7 degrees outside, and yet somehow the air inside the dome was colder. All the energy from those big early season wins, gone. Accountability has been the word thrown around as if people are actually being accountable. Syracuse men's basketball, in its 85-76 loss to Miami today, proved that words don't matter if you can't back it up. Maybe a bit harsh to start our show, but I promise the fun is just getting started. Orange Press Pass starts right now. Welcome back in our CitrusTV studios. Avin alongside Jish, Sokolsky, and Purvis. Guys, it's been a little bit, or maybe 2 hours, since that game between Syracuse and Miami has ended. Another disappointing loss for Syracuse. They fall 85-76. Jish, I would say give me your first thoughts. You've had 2 hours to sit now. What are your first show thoughts from it?
I've had first thoughts, second thoughts, third thoughts, fourth thoughts, and really, Cole, it seems like nothing really matters at this point, right? I hate to be that kind of nihilist kind of guy, but it's hard to find a reason to care about this team anymore. You've lost 3 in a row to really bad teams. It felt like the season was already over after the Boston College loss, just because there hasn't been a lot to root for in these past couple of games. Those last 3 second halves, absolutely abysmal. We're going to talk about it a little later on the show, but my first thoughts is, why should I even care?
Well, my first thought is that Syracuse looks like a team playing panicked street ball. I've seen intramural teams run more nuanced offenses than what Syracuse does. And the problem is that when this team gets down, especially in the second half, it resorts to the isolation game. And a player like Nate George, I think, is the worst culprit of it. A lot of off-balance three-pointers, off the dribble. And the unfortunate thing is that there's so much talent on this team, but it can't overcome the bad coaching and the lack of offensive sets that SU runs.
Well, we could throw all the stats at you, but it might just be better if we show you the highlights from this game so you can see for yourself exactly what we're trying to talk about. The last time these two teams faced off in the JMA Dome, Quadir Copeland hit a crazy buzzer beater against the struggling mid-tier ACC Miami team. That's not this Miami team. They came out firing right away. Sheldon Henderson got that dunk to get things started. Trey Donaldson makes a driving layup there. On the flip side, J.J. Starling misses the jumper. William Kyle's been the best player in this losing stretch for Syracuse. Gets the dunk there, but it's kind of been the story that Syracuse just can't hit a shot. So finally, Kyan Anthony just gets the slam dunk, posterizes there, and gets the energy back in the dome and cuts that deficit from 10 points.
I could watch this highlight all day. I'm glad we're looking at this a third time. Look out below. That's going on a poster on every bedroom in the 315. This could have been an opportunity, Adam, for Syracuse to really grab momentum back. They tied the game there, but that TV timeout really hurt them, especially when Miami's doing things like this right out of the break. And
I gotta say, it's rare that you see Carmelo stand up when Kyan hits a highlight. That is a hard guy to impress. Syracuse still just down 5 at halftime, 41-36. And it was about time for Donnie Freeman to get things going. He only had 4 points in the first half. It's that nice turnaround J near the three-point line. Unfortunately, the momentum wouldn't last really long because Cole, like we've been talking about, the misses just kept coming, and that one led to this big Miami run.
That would have been a Russell Westbrook type slam there from J.J. Starling. Goes for the highlight, clangs it off the back iron, and that led to a 10-1 Hurricane run, a real backbreaker for Syracuse.
And Miami just kept piling it on in the second half, despite Syracuse keeping it close for the majority of it, guys. Malik Renault finished with 20 in this one, kind of a quiet first half too. Finishes with the layup there, and this was pretty much the nail in the coffin. Miami up 10 points late. Ernest Udeh Jr. gets the alley-oop there from Dante Allen, who started today in replacement of Trey Donaldson, and Miami walks away with the 9-point victory, 85-76 on this road trip in the Dome, quad 1 win, top 75 on the road, whatever that means, against the bad Syracuse team that continues to drop games. Kyan Anthony, to me, guys, I think was maybe the most impressive player. We're going to talk about him at length throughout this show, but the highlight plays that brings the momentum is important because when all the other shots aren't falling, you need that boost.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you got to score more points than the other team. When your leading scorer, Donnie Freeman, is held to 14 points, it's back-to-back kind of quiet days for him. That spells trouble for a Syracuse team now on a 3-game losing streak. A credit to Miami, though, Adam, because they were on a 2-game skid where things looked like the sky was falling for the Hurricanes. They came back and showed out big time on the road for a quad-win win.
Autry's mentioned that Donnie Freeman is going to be the top of the scouting report for most opponents. Every bucket is going to be tough for him. But how about Miami's Trey Donaldson? 16 points today off the bench, a huge X factor in this one, and it leads to a brutal 3rd straight loss for the Orange. Things looking rough right now.
Well, I'm sure there were a lot of fans late in the game that were just walking out of the arena. I was at the Boston College game a couple weeks ago, and Syracuse dropped that game in overtime, and the fans started to shuffle out. Unfortunately, guys, we still have somebody that's there right now because we're very thankful that he's joining our show. Nick Whaley, still in the JMA Dome. Buddy, thanks for taking the time. We're sorry they had to sit courtside and watch that disaster second half, another second half Syracuse collapse in this game. And I mentioned early in the show, if you heard, that the word accountability has been thrown around a lot. After every game, Coach Autry's up there and says we have to do a better job as a coaching staff to get our guys prepared. Fans are sick of the excuses. Was it more of the same from Coach Autry, or did he finally say something different that got the fans excited for potential change?
Well, once again, every single Adrian Autry press conference especially that I've heard this season, it has been a bit of deja vu. Like you said, Adam, it's the coaching staff not doing good enough, not preparing the team well enough. Well, it keeps happening time and time again. The one thing that I thought was slightly different this time around was that Coach Autry said that we're doing things right in practice. We're doing the things that we want to do in games, but we're not executing in games. Well, I think there has to be something a little bit deeper than that. If you practice what you preach, then the results would be better, But once again, it was Adrian Autry saying that my coaching staff needs to do better at this. We have to play aggressively. The same thing that we have heard over and over again. And of course, like you saw at the end of the game, fans were pouring out very quickly, even though it's only 7 degrees out. So certainly difficult times for the program at this point.
Hey, Nick, good to see you. Looking great. I want to ask you something a little bit more, or less abstract, we'll say. Final minute of the game of the Virginia Tech game, Syracuse had this mad comeback where they were fouling, doing everything they could to get back into this game. With a minute left in this one, when Syracuse needed to kind of foul to stay alive and gain some extra possessions, they completely called off the dog. So I want to know how Adrian Autry began to explain the lack of effort in that last minute. Why didn't they foul?
This was a question that I had straight away. I mean, we had 90 seconds left on the clock, and it was about, a 10-point game at that point. And Coach Red didn't really have an answer. He said that we're talking about the frustration on the team, that it just spills over to everyone else on the team. When Donnie Freeman gets frustrated at a foul call, it then filters onto the rest of the team. William Kyle III is another example of that. We've seen that with Kai and Anthony throughout the season as well. So there's, I think, a character problem overall within this group that maybe once one guy gets frustrated, the rest of the team goes down. But man, if there was any advertisement for giving up and what it looks like to give up, it was that final 90 seconds. It felt like it was a pressing the giving up button for the game and possibly the season.
Hey, Nick, Miami shot 54% from 3 in this game, perhaps the result of Syracuse switching into a 2-3 zone. So I'm wondering, what did Coach Autry have to say about that decision after the game?
Well, it happened so early on. I mean, Miami went out to a 9-0 lead so quickly. I think Coach Red was like, yeah, we needed to make a change. And right away went to the zone. Head coach Jay Lucas for Miami brought up a really good point that Miami is used to facing these zone offenses. They do it quite a lot. And it's because teams don't want to deal with them in the paint. They don't want to deal with them down low because they are, if anything, of course, the one big attribute of this Syracuse team is that athleticism down low with William Kyle, Donnie Freeman, etc. I think switching to the zone was certainly the right move. You can't really help it when Miami shoots 61% from the field and 54% from 3. I got to give credit to Coach Autry here because he made the adjustments. It did get a little bit better, but of course Syracuse just couldn't make up the difference. Miami just shot the lights out of that ball.
All right, Nick Whaley, we always appreciate your insight, my friend. I'd much rather be down in Florida golfing with you than here in 7 degrees Syracuse right now. I think maybe we all would, but we appreciate the insight as always. We'll be right back here on Orange Press Pass to continue to break down this game between Syracuse and Miami. 85-76 loss for the Cuse. Still continuing to talk some good college basketball here with Jish, Sokolsky, Purvis, Avin still with you. We're going to continue to break down this game between Syracuse and Miami, guys. But first, we got to look at the bigger picture here, look at all the games from around the country that took place today. And Jish, there are some big top 25 matchups here. And I mean, my eyes go straight to my Gators down in the bottom right. They were down almost 15 early in the second half. Now it's a 4-point game. That's pretty wild. So I'm happy to see that. But I know you had your eye on some other games that happened today. 2
40-point scorers today. It was Kingston Flemings in the Houston game. But how about the true freshman Keaton Wagler scoring 46 for Illinois to upset Purdue? What a fantastic game that one was. The true freshman coming up clutch. How about Nebraska staying perfect? And, of course, Dan Hurley over Villanova, a tough Big East win.
In overtime, too. Syracuse could use a nice Big East win right about now, but they are in the ACC. So, Cole, let's take a look around the ACC. What games you got your eye on?
Yeah, our neck of the woods, looking at number 22, North Carolina, a huge win over number 14, Virginia, on the road. And UNC freshman Caleb Wilson has been an athletic specimen all season long, clearly looking like one of the top picks in the upcoming NBA draft. Had another 20-plus point performance today. He's been phenomenal so far this season.
And one of the things, guys, and this is where we get to the Syracuse angle of things as we continue our show here on OPP, is that they haven't had that 20-point per game score, at least not consistently. Right when Donnie Freeman returned back from injury, it seemed like he was that guy, that the team was ready. He can pick and choose when he wanted to go out there and get the game going. He only had 4 points in the first half today. He finished with 14, tried to pull Syracuse back late, but it just wasn't enough. And this has been the story over this losing stretch. The second half collapses, getting outscored in the second half by a lot, and they can't overcome missing their shots. They cannot make their shots, and they can't get back into these games. Jish, what do the Orange have to do right to stop these second half collapses?
They just got to get out of their own head, Adam. I'm sick and tired of seeing this team just kind of give up mentally, it seems like. Once they give up a big run, it's really hard for them to pull themselves out of the well. I think they just keep getting flashbacks to games like Iowa State when they got a 60-burger dropped on them in the second half. In 20 games this season, you don't see it all right here. You only see the Syracuse points, but they've been outscored in half of their second halves. In 10 of the games this season, they've lost the second half, and that's a big reason why Syracuse just can't pull out some of these wins against beatable teams.
Right. Well, I don't know if I call it a collapse necessarily since they were already losing at the half, but SU 0-4 this season when trailing after 20 minutes. Miami, on the other hand, 11-1 when leading at the half, so you had to figure it was going to be a tall task for SU to come back. I didn't think Syracuse got the ball to William Kyle enough. He didn't even take a field goal in the second half. He's been a matchup nightmare all season long. Let him go to work, use his athleticism on the block. They didn't do that at all. The offense got stale, and it resulted in another loss.
And, of course, big credit to Miami as well. Kind of playing magnet ball in that second half, shooting 64% from the floor. I don't care how well Syracuse could have played offensively. They're never matching that kind of efficiency.
And sometimes you have some of those games, and, we all sit together, we watch these games, and I mean, Cole, you brought up William Kyle. I made the joke, like, you could lob the ball to him, and 50% of the time, it's going in. He's your best chance of getting some points on the board by just bullying his way in the paint and dunking on some people. But obviously, he can't do it all, and he needs Nate George, the point guard they brought in to get him the ball, to step up in a big way. Unfortunately, again, over this losing stretch, the turnovers just keep on coming. Today was a little bit interesting, though, guys, because Miami had 16 turnovers to Syracuse's 6, and yet Nate George's plus-minus was the worst on the team. So, Cole, what is it about Nate George that he just can't get things going to get the Orange back in these games?
I mean, I like some of the things he does. He's a guy that can run the floor in transition with his eyes up, and that's something that I like. But sometimes he's reckless. He's off. He's not communicating well with his teammates. There was a moment late in the second half where he was trying to find Sadiq White on a back cut to the basket. He didn't find him. The pass was intercepted, and then they had to have a conversation about it after. So It's just some miscommunications. And then he also chucks up too many threes. I mentioned earlier, this guy is taking so many off-balance, ill-advised shots, and it's hurting this offense big time.
Cole, I think in these last 3 games, Nathan George's basketball IQ might have dropped by 70 points. What happened to those 2 games in which he had 11 assists and 13 assists against Pittsburgh and against Florida State,
Yeah.
and he had a 20-plus point game against Georgia Tech as well. He's just kind of fallen off the face of the earth, and it's for reasons like you said, Cole. He sometimes thinks he has to be the entire offense when things aren't going well. The most ill-advised shots, the worst layups I've seen in my life, maybe off the top of the window. I mean, this guy just absolutely... It doesn't even show up on the box score other than the plus-minus, but he's taking the most boneheaded shots I've ever seen, and this is supposed to be your prized possession in the transfer portal?
Yeah, and point guard play has been the bugaboo for Syracuse men's basketball in the past couple of seasons. You think about Jaquan Carlos, who came in and struggled last year.
I don't want to think about
Nathan, yeah, me neither, honestly. But Nathan George comes in, like you said, he was supposed to really change that position for this Coach Autry-led squad. He hasn't done that. He's been more of a problem than a solution so far this season.
And Nathan George, a player who led the ACC in assists just a season ago at Georgia Tech. Let's talk about the rebounds, though, guys, because this was the story of the game, especially in the second half. Syracuse, especially on the offensive boards, could not create opportunities for themselves. They got out-rebounded 37-21 by the Hurricanes today. William Kyle, though he's a shorter center, we know how athletic he is, but Jish, there were multiple times in the game where you specifically pointed out they're just watching. Donnie Freeman's just standing by the bucket, not going after these balls, and you see the coaches on the sideline screaming, "Go get the basketball." Why isn't it there on the rebounds?
You know, Adam, I'd say don't get me started, but I actually would really like to go in on this team. You don't have magnets in your hand. There's no magnet in the ball. Listen to a Torian Prince clip. You have to go up to the rim and pull down the rebound. Too many times today, they watch that ball but just ping pong around the floor. They could just pick up loose change, and by they, of course, I'm talking about Miami, was just picking the ball up from the semicircle underneath the basket where there was nobody there to box out. There was nobody diving on the floor. Nobody wanted it enough. And yeah, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. A season-low 21 rebounds today. That's all to do with, in my opinion, the effort, Cole.
37-21, and the rebounding margin is simply unacceptable. And a lot of people, like you said, question the effort. I think a lot of it is just a lack of boxing out and a lack of just grabbing the basketball. This team has butterfingers. It hurt them in a late game situation against Virginia Tech a game ago, and today it was a big problem once again.
All right, well, Syracuse couldn't do anything on the rebounds, couldn't really get anything going today, and that's because, like we've mentioned a little bit, Miami's offense is in the second half shooting over 60% from the floor was just unbeatable. And a lot of that is due to the play of Malik Renaud, who's our orange press pass player of the game. The guy had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. He had 7 turnovers today. It wasn't all perfect from Renaud. But the reason why Miami brought him in from Indiana as one of the top forwards, one of the top transfers in the portal this past offseason, was the energy he brings on the offensive and defensive end. He's always around the ball. Whether he has it in his hands, whether he's making a play, whether he's jumping over you to get a bucket, Malik Renaud is trustworthy in those late game moments, and a big reason why the Hurricanes have been unstoppable for parts of this season. And 20 points finish off the game for Malik Renaud in one of the best performances against Syracuse so far this year. All right, we're going to be right back on Orange Press Pass to continue to talk Syracuse, some what ifs, why things have happened the way that they have, and if Jish and Cole can bring some sense in our team. We'll be right back.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
All right, Cole Purvis, Jish, Sokolsky, Avin still here with you as we talk Syracuse men's basketball and their loss to Miami today, 85-76. Guys, this is the time of the season where if your team is winning, you don't question anything and there's no what ifs. But if your team is losing, like Syracuse men's basketball has done as of late, you start to question the what ifs that have happened throughout the season, why things happen the way that they do, what things might have changed early on that could have affected the way the season has since progressed. And one thing has kept going back in my mind. Early in the season, J.J. Starling in that season opener against the Bearcats of Binghamton, he goes down with an injury. He gets out of the game. Kyan Anthony, for a stretch to begin the year, was in the starting lineup. Jish, I want to go to you here first. And this might be the biggest what-if of the season. If J.J. Starling, despite him coming back from injury, Kyan Anthony stays in the starting lineup, do you think the Orange maybe win some more games?
I think they score a little more, but I think this would be a lot better for Kyan Anthony, right? When he was in that starting lineup, people were giving him tons of draft buzz. If he stayed in the starting lineup, there would be no doubt in my mind at this point, we'd be talking about him as a lottery selection. I know the scoring's been a little bit inconsistent, but that's also been because his role's been inconsistent. Today, he gets an ACC high 21 minutes and scores 13 points, his most in the month of January. I think if you gave him a chance night in, night out to prove with some of these highlight plays, those deep step back threes, he posterized someone today. I think if you give him that much run in the lineup, he could have been a lottery pick, but because J.J. Starling is that senior leader, maybe provided a little bit more stability to the ship, you bring Kyan Anthony to the wayside, he looks a little more inconsistent, he might go back to school for another year. If he stayed in the lineup, maybe they score more, I don't know if they win more, but Kyan Anthony walks home as an NBA draft pick this year.
I'm not a huge fan of the hypotheticals. You know the saying, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have Merry Christmases. So if Kyan Anthony stays in the lineup, that means you're benching J.J. Starling, who's your veteran leader and who's been arguably your best player over the past couple of seasons. So it would be a tough thing for Adrian Autry to have done. You can't bench a player of the talent and the caliber of J.J. Starling, no matter how good Kyan Anthony has been as a freshman. He's not somebody that you can sit on the bench and have him come off as a sixth man.
Well, he could have also maybe stepped in for Nathan George, who's having his notable struggles right now. J.J. Starling, maybe not a natural point guard, but that is the position he did play. Yeah, I think that J.J. Starling can still pass a little more than you give him credit for.
Well, the only thing that I will say, and I'm kind of in between you guys here, because I have thought about this a lot, and his ability of what he could do on the floor when he was in the starting lineup to begin with, and you saw his point totals there. I don't really care about the opponents you're playing against. Kyan Anthony sometimes feels like he has to go out, he has to produce the big bucket, and they never really go that way, at least they haven't as of late. But when he was starting earlier this year, it felt like it just came so much more natural at him. Who knows? We can't go back and change the future, but it certainly might seem, to Jish's point, that Syracuse's offense might have been a little bit stronger. Speaking of a strong performance from the Orange, one of their best all season long was actually in a loss to Houston. It was when they were in Vegas for the big Thanksgiving tournament, their invitational over there where they played some of the top teams in the country. But that first one against Houston, guys, was just insane. Tyler Betsy hits that game-tying three-pointer to force overtime. Cole, when we look back at that Houston game, the Orange just fell so short to a top 3 team in the country. If they win that game, do you think the momentum continues to carry and it's just a different season?
Yeah, I think things are a whole lot different for this Syracuse team. They shot 12 of 29 from the free throw line in that game. Yeah. So if they produced better from the charity stripe, they would have won that game and give them a lot of confidence heading into ACC play. They probably wouldn't have even had to play Iowa State next up, and that was a challenging game for the Orange. You were there. You saw the struggles from the free throw line.
I did, yeah.
If they hit their free throws and win that game, it gives them a whole lot of confidence going forward, and they don't have some of these sloppy losses like to Hofstra and to Boston College down the road.
Yeah, there was definitely a butterfly effect. Not playing Iowa State would be huge for the team's confidence, like you said. I honestly think that Syracuse, it would snowball all the way here to January. I don't think Syracuse loses these last 2 games because, right, you lose to Houston, and then you don't really have that signature win other than Tennessee, which is looking worse and worse every day.
Yeah. Because they keep losing too.
Right, exactly. So if Syracuse beat Houston, then after a Boston College loss, there's still stuff to play for because 100%. Houston is still good, and perhaps they come in with a lot more gusto and firepower, right? We still got to finish strong against teams like Virginia Tech, against a team like Miami. I think that Syracuse would not lose these last 2 games because they already had that confidence under their belt, and they wouldn't have to get a 60-burger dropped on them when they played Iowa State in the finale of that Invitational.
100%. Syracuse has lost some crucial games, and maybe if there's a different rotational construction from Coach Autry,
hey, start Tyler Betsy.
Produce some more wins, maybe you get Tyler Betsy in the starting lineup. Maybe Syracuse basketball has a different record at this point in the season. We'll be right back on Orange Press Pass as we preview what's up next for Syracuse. And my guys, Jish and Cole, sound off.
Come on. on. It's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
We're almost done here. Jish, Sokolsky, Cole Purvis, Adam, Avin. We've been talking Syracuse basketball. And if you want to watch some more Syracuse basketball for whatever reason, here's their upcoming schedule and what we got. They got NC State. They travel a little bit of, guys, there's a lot of bad weather in North Carolina right now. So hopefully the team makes it down there safely and gets a win against a really good NC State team.
It's going to be a tough NC State game, though, playing a guy like Darian Williams, Will Wade. They got Quadir Copeland down there. That's not. This is looking a lot like 1-3. Maybe they beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, Quadir Copeland revenge game against Syracuse. This is an NC State team that beat Florida State by 44 points earlier this season. They're a force to be reckoned with.
All right, well, you've heard some of the shade that I've thrown to Coach Autry and Syracuse so far throughout today's show, but Jish and Cole have some final words they want to give on Syracuse basketball and what to expect going forward. So I think it's time for them to sound off.
It's no secret that Syracuse men's basketball has produced some cringe-worthy losses over the last few years, to say the least. In the glory days of March runs and postseason play, when Syracuse had embarrassed itself, that would be the only thing on the minds of Orange fans. The frustration was immeasurable. You don't need me to tell you that when fans are mad at the team, it's an uncomfortable and bad thing for the Orange. Excellence was demanded because it was expected. Well, fast forward to 2026, and if you were to ask a Syracuse fan what they thought of a 3-game losing streak in ACC play, they'd shrug their shoulders and say, classic Syracuse. We're at a point where students aren't old enough to remember the good old days. I was in 6th grade. Adam was in 6th grade. Cole was not in middle school the last time Syracuse made a Final Four. The freshman class that saw the Cuse cut down the nets are now in their 40s. I'm more scared of the report that Cuse is on pace for its worst attended season, more than I'm afraid of Cuse being on this 3-game slide. Nobody in this program or around this program cares enough about excellence, and to skate by is to exceed, and to me, and hopefully a couple other people, that is unacceptable.
The last thing I'd suggest to this struggling basketball program is that with the season over at this point, just try anything and everything. Perhaps an interim coach the rest of the way would spark some energy into the team. What are you gaining with Adrian Autry sticking around the rest of the way? I hope Coach Autry has LinkedIn because he's going to be open for work pretty soon. Also, why not give 5-star football recruit Calvin Russell some minutes? If he struggles, then so be it. Just see what you have in him. While you're at it, start Tyler Betsy. Start Kyan Anthony. He's been your best 3-point shooter all season. If these things don't work, so what? The season is already a wash. So roll the dice. Take some gambles with the lineup and do anything and everything to show the fan base you're not content with the mediocrity that has plagued this program for the past 5 years.
Harsh words there from the rookie, Cole Purvis. Syracuse takes on NC State on Tuesday night. You're going to want to see that one. Maybe the Orange can get a nice quad 1 win on the road, get back into March Madness contention. Although with the way that Will Wade's team has been playing after their win against Pitt today, it is highly unlikely that it will happen.
I have plans to go to Cancun for March. I think the Syracuse basketball team should too.
Yeah, me as well. I think the season is a wash, and NC State will likely be another loss.
All right, Cole Purvis, Jish Sokolsky, Adam Avin saying so long, and we'll see you next time.